So, of course, I think, we are all lovers of, I'm sure, various diverse styles of music. And ska music is the thing that probably is our strongest connection here at Blue Beat Livestream, all of us. So this one sends out with love every time to the Skatalites, the originators of the ska sound we love so much. Without them, we would not be here doing this. We'd be doing something else, somewhere else maybe, but anyway, an awesome request, The Real Ska. Give me that sound from back in the day. Give it to me, we want the real ska. Like Nibs and Rabbit and Jackie would play. Give it to me, we want the real ska. Make it hard from the yard in an old time way. Talikali berry, a lickalinty. Just every man's ska, as Coxon would say. One for here, Campbell Duppy man, Malkin away. The rich start tone with the tiny play. Give it to me, we want the real ska. Blow, Tommy blow, Sterling blow, Roland blow, Dizzy. Give it to me, yeah, we want the real ska, we want the real ska. Real ska, we want the real ska. Real ska, we want the real ska. Real ska, everybody love each other. Real ska, some out there coffee jamming. That you talk today, but we play the real ska, and you better upgrade. That you can't play the ska like you're running out of race. That we swing the rhythm and turn off the bass. So give me that sound from back in the day. Give it to me, we want the real ska. Like Nibs and Raven, Jerry and Jackie. Give it to me, we want the real ska. Me no one ska punk and me no one third wave. Give it to me, we want the real ska. Give it to me, give it to me, yeah, we want the real ska. Right? Woo!
Hey! I'm always waiting this extra couple seconds for my camera to turn on. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ska Talk with Mr. Kingpin. I am your host, Johnny Bravo. And tonight with us is the man of acoustic ska who has been filling our living rooms and computers with music every week for a little over a year now. We got Chris Murray in the house.
Hey.
How is it going, Chris?
It's good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I am trying something new tonight. We're on Facebook Live and YouTube tonight.
Wow, okay.
So I think I figured it out. And so we have multiple ways. This was for Ryan Scroggins. Ryan Scroggins was like, hey,
Ryan.
He's like, can we put this on YouTube? And
good.
So I figured it out for tonight and hopefully every week. So without further ado, welcome to Ska Talk. And I see that you actually have started doing your own Ska Talk on Thursdays along with the music.
Yes. So every Thursday on Facebook, I do a stream called Blue Beat Livestream. And that's been going now since the start of April. So this is month 14 currently.
Oh.
And I don't know when it started, but maybe halfway through or something. At the end, usually I play for about 90 minutes here or there, depending on how things are feeling and who's there, what people want. And now I put down the guitar at the end of the singing, and I just hang out, kind of like this, and talk with people. Well, they're typing comments but I can respond to those, or I can ramble on about whatever's on my mind. And that's been a good part of it, actually, for more than one reason. Definitely, it is makes it a little more diverse what's happening. Because I think all the time during the stream, I've been talking before songs, introducing the song, maybe telling a little story or back history of something or other, just chatting. And but every entertainer knows you can't talk too much in a musical show, or just the energy dissipates. So
especially if your banter's not on point, especially.
Right. So if I know that there's a period at the end where I can freely just talk, then I don't feel like, oh, I want to tell this story, but getting late. So that's been good. And it's been a great experience in so many ways. The live stream, of course, as an artist for many years touring, having the touring option disappear,
yeah,
was an incredible change. None of us had to consider that before. And so it was actually with you, my first online appearance of pandemic was first Supernova Saturday. And so I'd never been on any kind of live stream before. And so that was my hello to it. And as
you and me both.
That was near the end of March. I think it must have been the last week of March, something like that, because the following Thursday was the first Blue Beat, which was the first week of April. And so it's been great ever since then. You gave me my start, man, but I've been running with it, and it's been
oh man,
a great experience.
I could die happy now. No, I'm just kidding.
It's clear that I love to perform and to sing songs. I like that part of life a lot. So having the live stream for me personally has been great because I get to do that. It's really not the same. It's different.
Yep.
And it's great in some ways. What's really cool is people that I know from all of my travels show up together in the same virtual space, and they interact over a year now. People in this country, in this state, in this city, who never met each other in person, now have a rapport and a relationship as like regular attendees at Blue Beat Livestream.
Yeah.
They know each other's sense of humor. They got running jokes. They know this guy likes that song, and this person wants calypso, and this person is all about reggae. And it's nice. So in the same way that originally Blue Beat Lounge, a weekly show I did at Knitting Factory in a pretty small room that would hold really about 100 tops. There was a community that developed over regular get-togethers, and it's been the same way with Blue Beat Livestream. Surely some people from the original Blue Beat Lounge community are part of that, but people from all over. And that's been awesome to see how different people who have a common interest in that moment get together, and they never otherwise in the world would have.
Right. And I try to pop in and catch a few tunes almost every week. And yeah, I see some of the regulars, some friends that I have that are there. Every time I'm in there, I see them in there, and it's been great. And I mean, just the fact that the way you were able to just kind of take it and run with it and provide that steady, like we always know during this time that Chris Murray is going to be playing live on Thursday night. It's comforting.
That has been actually the way you're describing it, I really am understanding in a different way than I did a year and some ago, that it wasn't only me that had everything change in life. Everyone did. And everybody, as we were chatting before, I think over the course of the last year, people have become accustomed to the new normal,
right,
and adjusted. But at the last March and April, when it was brand new, Nobody was prepared. People were still hoarding toilet paper. There was this sense of panic that subsided. There's always been, I think, a sense of concern about COVID because it's a big problem.
Yeah.
But everybody was just so off center at that initial time. And so I really got feedback from people as the weeks started to add up with Blue Beat, how they were really thankful for something regular, and in their own lives, how structure had been taken away. Well, there was something happening on Thursday that they could always be looking forward to or participating in then, or just remembering it happened yesterday. And it's been the same for me, where Thursday, if there wasn't a regular Thursday event, you could tell me it's October and I'd believe it, you know? Because how would I know? What would be different?
Yeah.
Another thing that has been great for me as an artist / performer, whatever, creative person, is there's a big difference not only in the having people there physically or not, but I think it's pretty standard for touring acts that they go to a different city every day. And by the time that they're touring acts, they have some kind of body of material that people like.
Yeah.
So when I show up in Dallas, you know I'm going to play We Do the Ska and Rock Steady and Home and Ex Darling. And there's a list of songs that, it sounds weird to say I have to play them, but I feel like that is, people come because they want to hear those songs.
Right.
And I love those songs. I'm not tired of singing them. And in that moment of being at a show, the job, the function is to entertain. And if those are the songs people want to hear, well, then I sing them every night. And over years, a bunch of those have built up. So the room I have in a set to play a more obscure song has become much more narrow. And also the reality of a live show with ska and reggae, that's dance music. And some songs that are low tempo or not dancey in the same way, in a true live show, sometimes they're a little risky.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, a song like Dinosaurs. That song at the start of the pandemic was one that I played when people asked for, but I would never throw it in to the set because it's like, things could be going great, but it's 4 minutes long and it's slow and there's not a lot of dynamics to it. And maybe people will drift off. However, in that song during the pandemic, where people are not needing to be dancing and going crazy at home. Sometimes they are, but people are just chilling. I visit some people's streams weekly, and a lot of times I'm cooking or working out or doing other stuff. I'm multitasking.
Right. And you're like passively listening.
I'm not like scrutinizing the performance and dancing at home, believe it or not. Maybe some days I'm dancing, but so it has given me an opportunity having the difference between going to a different city every day and playing more or less the same songs every day. Now there's a regular crew that is there every week, and I can't play the same songs to them every week because that would get old. So having the opportunity with people who have been there the last 4 weeks straight to say, okay, well, I haven't played this song in 3 months and I'm going to pull it out. And so I had a side project called Caps Lock.
Uh-huh.
It's a little inactive right now. My partner in Caps Lock, Jen, moved to Arizona from California. So we have had fewer opportunities to write in person. But so she's a regular from Blue Beat Lounge era and now Blue Beat Livestream. And she put together a YouTube channel called Chris Murray Presents Blue Beat Livestream, where she has taken each individual song I've played. To be clear, like if I do a song in a stream today that I've never done at Blue Beat Livestream, that'd be a new song. So she'll separate that performance of that song that never has been done at Blue Beat before and include that on the channel. So
actually, I was just on that website today. I was on your YouTube channel and I saw that. And I was like, whoa, it's like everything's here. It's crazy.
It's amazing. So she started it as like a secret surprise thing, but by like end of the year, she let me know about it, and there were already 200 different songs that I'd sung in those 8 months, 9 months. So the difference between a year where I've sung performance of 200 songs to going from city to city and probably playing maybe the same 20 songs every night and having an extra 5 to play with each night. Some nights not even. Like, so if I'm on a bill with 3 bands, I might have 45 minutes. And
right.
So as an artist, this is a long way of saying it, having this weekly event where it's called upon, or it's called for to mix things up has been great, because it's forced me to be creative. And now every week, most weeks, there's some type of theme.
Yep. I was gonna ask about that.
Sometimes it's like, go ahead.
So, yeah, first of all, dinosaurs, it has become one of my favorites because of the live stream.
Yeah.
I feel like on our end, watching live, you're like reintroducing us to some songs even that we have forgotten about. And then I know that there's been times where you played Caps Lock songs and you're kind of introduced us to that music as well.
Yeah.
And then the themes. So I love that you started doing that as well. What's your preparation for that? Because I'm assuming you don't just have all of these already like ready to go in your head, and you gotta.
No, like at the very start, before there were themes, I would just be winging it and taking requests through comments. And at the start, people were really, active with making requests. And now people are still active with it, but I think at that moment, everybody was like, this is all brand new. These live streams, and I can make a request. Like, that was a novelty. I can make a request and he's going to play it.
The interaction, even like the fact that you're like reading our comments.
Everything was new.
Yeah.
And now everything is a little more comfortable and familiar. So I know this person is likely to ask, there's 4 songs that person really loves. Or I just see that they're there, and I'm like starting to think, oh, well, I better start getting ready to play that song because it's going to get asked for. So anyway, at the start, it was a little without themes, and there was a lot of activity to follow with requests. And I don't know when the first theme happened, but probably I think it was one of those situations where the artist plays a specific album, top to bottom. So that was maybe, I can't remember which album I did first, but that was the first approach to a theme. And then it spread out to an artist-based theme where today it's all Ethiopians, or I did a Clash night and a two-tone night.
Two-tone, I remember that one, yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a real wide range of opportunities there to find artists represent. Or sometimes there would be themes that are more truly a theme, like, oh, today it's all love songs, that type of thing. And definitely I had a bunch of things ready to go. All the themes that I would be inclined to pick are ones that are dear to my heart in some way.
Right.
Most of the songs, or most of the themes, even sometimes when I'm doing my own album top to bottom, has required some refreshing or learning of material, because I'm getting my lingo down. But on a night like Two-Tone Night, that would be, I think I call that a theme. And every song for an hour and a half is going to be connected to two-tone somehow. A spotlight might be a 10 to 12 song focus over the course of 90 minutes. So that might be about half the time.
Right.
I'll play a little bit, get warmed up, take some requests, hit the spotlight, and then finish up with whatever time is left. And recently, so this last one that happened yesterday was the 72nd Blue Beat. So I do every Thursday at 5 Pacific. And then the last Monday of every month, I do one additional that starts at noon Pacific. And that's specifically, I mean, everybody's always welcome. But for people in England that's 8 hours ahead, and continental Europe 9 hours ahead. When I'm starting at 5 o'clock here, it's already 1 a.m. in England and 2 a.m. in Europe.
Yep.
And some people show up. It's amazing. But so that one on Mondays, the last Monday of every month at noon Pacific, is specifically reaching out to those people. Here's a time that's decent for you.
Yeah, I remember the first time you did that, taking that into account. I think it was like, it felt like it was just a one-off because you realized that you needed to, get in front of those people also. But then at some point, so now you've made that. It took a minute
to settle.
Yeah.
Like the first time I did it, I started at 11 a.m. And the truth of that is just too early for me to be up and awake and feeling like ready to perform for an hour and a half. Doesn't give a lot of opportunity for preparation. I think every artist who is being on stage, an hour before the show, you're starting to get into your zone. And when it's 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm just still like, so I think the second one I did, I have a lot of Facebook friends from Australia, New Zealand. I went to Indonesia once, so there's a lot of people from Indonesia who follow me on Facebook. There's a really good, strong ska scene in Philippines, and of course, Japan is a strong country for ska. So I did one where the second, not Thursday one I did, I specifically said, okay, well, I've done one for Europe and England, and let me try to do one at a time that would be good for the Pacific people. And that one, I think I started at 2 a.m. So it would be, I don't know what that translates to in Japan, but
just about 2 p.m. Wait,
it was a situation where I didn't want to start any later for myself. But anyway, after that second one, I came back to a time, I think in that, my mentality in that, I'm going to alternate. I came back to the Europe one, and but I'm going to do it at noon. And then that just kept on working. Like people were coming, and some people from Japan and Australia are there at even the Thursdays every week. Some people, it turns out for those people, it's their Friday morning. So if I'm starting at 5 p.m. here, it might be 7 a.m. there or 8 a.m. And so some people get up to have it.
Their morning dose of Chris. Yep.
So this was a little tangent. All the reasons, all the things that have been great about it. As an artist, every day, I'll say this, as a person, like everybody, I have evolved a new lifestyle in a year of staying home. I started touring with King Apparatus, like real touring, in 1990. So in 30 years, I've never had a year where I was home.
Wow.
A year where I didn't leave the state or the province or anything. It's a big difference. Now, as I was saying before, touring, as a touring act, you go around and you're playing the same set somewhat night to night. So this has been a real opportunity to master new material, which has required preparation, rehearsal, practice. And, if I'm out in normal life playing 150 shows a year, traveling, and I have a night at home when I don't have a gig, I'm probably not going to be picking up my guitar and singing for an hour and a half, because I've got, it's Tuesday, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I got shows, and I just had a few shows on the weekend. I don't feel like a night off is really nice in that moment. So in this era where there's been no traveling and no shows, my own desire to play is not satisfied by the actual shows, because I love to play. So I found myself getting into a habit, usually at the end of the day, and gardening is part of my day. And when the sun goes down, I come in and crafting some songs. And it's worked out. Usually like 60 to 90 minutes is a sweet spot for me. I feel like that at the end of singing for 60 or 90 minutes, I feel a really good place. And like I got some stuff done. And, you know, a positive way, when I go to do my singing at night, I feel like now I'm going to work, because I like to work. I work hard. I go out there and I play. I say yes to everything that I can, because I love to do these things, and to share music with people is what I get off on.
Yeah.
So it's this year I have done more rehearsing and practicing and learning songs than I have in 10 years. Possibly in the complete 10-year period before this last year, because I've been singing rock steady since the 90s. You know, I don't need to come home and rehearse it. But if I have a clash night and I need to have 12 songs ready, there's probably 6 that I've done a bunch over times, and one run through, I'm like, okay, that's in place. And then there's 6 that's like, I know this song, I grew up with it, but I've never actually like tried to play it on guitar. And of course I know some lyrics because it's a classic song,
right?
But I don't know every lyric. And I don't know them that I can pull them out of my head in the correct order. If the track is going along and I'm like singing along, of course, I'll hit some lines. So the actual craft of learning songs and performing new material has been honed in a way over this last year that other years weren't doing, because I was doing other things. And I really feel a great benefit to that. I'm thankful for that, because it's made music fresh for me.
Yeah. And you have what was I just gonna say? Well, yeah, you've been able to kind of zero in on your craft. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. It's very, I mean, you're doing this every single week, but you give like 110% every single week. You're performing as if you got 1,000 people in front of you, and it's like that every single time. Like, it never looks like you're dialing it in, which that's, I mean, honestly, you're just staring at a camera like what we're doing right now, and
right,
it's
I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah, it's a very obtuse thing to be just like jamming to a camera or to a phone. But I mean, you really pull it off.
It took, after a few streams, I started to settle in and feel familiar with that environment, I guess is the way to put it. Definitely the first few times, it felt really odd. And there were a couple of times, like you and I are on Zoom for a talk. I'm streaming on Facebook, which is a bit of a different environment. With Facebook, I get feedback through people are hitting like and love, and hearts are flying around,
right,
and comments are scrolling, and we can be communicative in that way. What I did with Zoom that was performance oriented, there wasn't a lot of response from people. Like, I did this, it was a very cool thing. I was asked to do a performance for like a children's facility where kids were living who were from circumstances that they didn't have a family home at the moment. And because of pandemic, they were all locked down, and a cousin of a friend runs the center. So I was asked to do this, and they're like, kids are just getting kind of stir crazy because they can't go anywhere. And so I did a comment or a show like that, and I could see a little bit of clapping, but there was no like, here we're talking like a natural conversation. Maybe they were a little like intimidated by an adult singer, like how much can we interact with this person? But by this time I was already used to like the stimulus of hearts and likes flying around and comments scrolling. And without that there, I was like, where is everybody? So I've enjoyed the Facebook part of it. Something else you mentioned that I wanted to reiterate, I guess, is when we're talking about things like caps lock, or sometimes the themes go in different directions. Like I grew up as a summer camp guy, and it was at summer camp really that I learned to play acoustic guitar around a campfire singing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, oh, here's like a guy who's 2 years older than me. He's been playing songs. He played Puff the Magic Dragon when I was 8, you know, and now he's like leaving. So we need another guy to be doing the guitar. And so these are songs that I was singing from early childhood, that I learned guitar so that I could be the leader of music in a setting where before I had been like a super young child and other older kids were leading. Is a very natural environment, and very much in retrospect like what I do now, where I get up. We had a ramshackle stage, a wood platform, not too big, and I wouldn't jump on it too hard, but and then there's a group of people sitting on logs around a campfire, and I just say, hey, let's sing this song. Everybody sing along, and I start singing, and then people sing along, and that's really, that skill set is how doing acoustic ska actually worked for me.
It was in your DNA, kind of.
Yeah, so I mean, I was doing that before there was King Apparatus. King Apparatus, in a sense, was a much more conventional approach. A band, electric guitars and drums and bass, and we're jumping around, putting on that kind of show. So when I transitioned from King Apparatus to a solo act, I had those chops of years of singing songs around the campfire, and also encouraging people to participate, that it make it a shared experience more than a performance that you're there to observe or make it something that we're doing together. And that really translates, I think, to the live streams where I'm getting feedback from people, and what do you want to hear? Oh, that's a good one. Hey, you asked for that yesterday or last week. You know, I need to mix it up. I get to hang out with people in a good way. Plus, sometimes the themes, like I did a Caps Lock theme, I did a Clash theme, I did a campfire theme, where I refreshed on a dozen songs that I played when I was a teenager. You know, a Bob Dylan tune, a Joni Mitchell tune, James Taylor, Puff the Magic Dragon, you know, that kind of stuff. Traditional campfire songs. And these are not necessarily anything to do with reggae or ska.
Right.
So when I'm going around playing show concerts, and as an artist, my output has been predominantly reggae and ska oriented, and that's what people want in that environment, and what I do, because songs that there are a few songs like, say, Running from Safety, that have made it into the live repertoire, but by and large, if I write a song that's outside the pocket of what I generally do, like Caps Lock songs are not necessarily ska reg at all. There are some that are, but most are not.
Right.
And sometimes they're like a country vibe or a folky vibe or some other thing on the acoustic guitar that, in the context of what people would want at a typical show of mine, would not really fit the flow. And so I've been able to, as an artist, as a singer and guitarist, do much more broad range of styles than life tends to afford me, including playing a lot of my own original material that somehow doesn't seem to suit the moment at gigs, typically.
And like you were saying, saying before, we're not live at a show dancing, so for us, it's a different experience, and I think it makes all of us more open-minded to enjoy what you're giving us.
Yes, I think that in retrospect, I will look back at this year as a really valuable year, because now in California, everywhere, the mask things are changing, and so I have like every second Saturday through the summer, I'm playing the patio at Romano's in Riverside. And it's a summer gig I've done for years. Like Gary, who runs Romano's, I've known for years, and Jared, who does
Jared.
booking. Yeah, exactly. So as soon as shows started happening. Like the day our governor announced mid-June everything's going to open, Jared and I were on the phone. Like, pick 2 Saturdays every month, and you tell me what you want. So I've got this string of gigs that are local, because who knows how things are going to unfold. But I've got a run of gigs at this place, and it's a casual type of gig where I play between 7 and 10. I take a break in there. It's easygoing with chatting. It's not like somebody's like, you need to be on the next song now. I can chat and hang out.
And it's outdoors. So
yes. So that aspect of it is all good.
Much safer. Yep.
And it's a long format. So, and a lot of times there are people there who know me, of course, and then there'll be people who aren't familiar with my material. So they don't have the expectation, oh, it's going to be all ska and reggae today.
Yep.
They just, okay, today there's a guy with acoustic guitar, and he's going to do some stuff. So this means I have this run over the summer of dates where I can play these songs that don't fit the old pocket, the old box, so neatly. The same songs I've been playing through this last year, now I can actually perform them live in front of people. And I think that's a really great opportunity, because through this year of doing those songs, there's some songs that it's almost like it's given me an opportunity to not reinvent entirely, but to expand the scope of who I am as an artist. At least to allow the live performance aspect of that catch up to the songwriter aspect of it,
yeah,
which has already been broader than. So I think that there are songs that I've started to sing this year that I'm always going to sing now, because that's part of my thing now. But a year and a half ago, I never could have imagined, well, this song or that song would be a standard for me. And now it is. And I own those songs. I've played them so many times.
And I was wondering, related to that, are there new songs that are have become favorites? I'm sure some of those fall under that category, but songs that, like you said, maybe you hadn't played, but they just became.
Definitely. There are some of the themes of covering artists. Like I did a Prince Buster theme, and he does a lot of covers himself. So he does a cover version of a song called "Nothing Takes the Place of You," and I found out who the original artist was one time. I'd never heard of this person before, but it's an American R&B ballad kind of thing, and he does sort of a rocksteady version of it, which I knew because growing up a rocksteady fan.
Yep.
Prince Buster, this is a great tune, but I never even thought about it until I did the Prince Buster theme. Oh yeah, it's a cover, of course. He does a lot of covers. It's got that American song sound to it. So I started singing that song for Prince Buster theme, and as soon as I started singing it, it was like putting on your own pair of shoes. Some songs are like that, where you start playing a song, you're like, this is just sitting right. Other songs is like, okay, I've got to really pay attention, or it's I got to work at some aspect of it. So there are a bunch of songs like covers that I've started to sing that I know I will continue, and I'm probably going to look for live opportunities as life progresses forward that make playing these things that I wouldn't have done in the past, but doing them in the future makes them feel more natural. Because I never get tired during a show. Anyway, I don't really have big plans, concrete plans moving forward, but I do know that a lot of material that I have grown to love performing over this last year, I will continue to perform, and things will find their balance.
Yeah.
But I think as well, not only for me, giving me a chance to get down with this material, like you're saying for yourself, as a viewer of this live stream, it has allowed the viewers' expectations to shift.
Yes.
A year and a half ago, if I was playing some campfire song, people are like, what is he doing? Why? But now I can do that, and people are like, hey, there's that other campfire song. Play that too. You know, expectations have changed. It's been freeing and really nice.
I love it when the last time I saw you live, I found it funny every time someone would scream out a song for you to play, and you're like, "That's not my song."
At the live stream or
No, live. Let's just start throwing any old song out at you, like.
You know, to be fair, it's hard to know because I do some covers.
Yeah.
And then there are virtually infinite covers out there. So unless someone really is familiar with what I do know and don't know, there's a good chance that they'll ask for something that is reasonable, but I just don't know that.
Right.
So I like it. Over time, I've known to suggest to the crowd sometimes, oh, well, if somebody makes a request that I don't have, like a song that it's a good idea, but I don't have it, I say, well, what helps is if you request, say, an artist, like, you know, a Justin Hines song or a Maytal song, that gives me a little leeway because I know 5 Maytal songs or 10. Now I know more because I did a Maytal's night. So that gives me a little chance to like, okay, I do. And in this moment, this is the one I'm feeling. So those are good requests that leave me a little wiggle room.
There's one cover I really enjoy every time I catch it is Save a Bread.
Yes. That was one of the very first songs that I started singing when I was performing solo, which I think the very first official live performance I did solo that was a gig post King Apparatus was the end of '95 up in Canada. And then 4-Track Adventures came out on Moon March or April of '96. And right around that time, I did a tour with Let's Go Bowling around America for 7 weeks. And they already had the tour kind of together, but I was friends with them. They came up and did stuff with King Apparatus, and we had done stuff out here with them. And I was just out here hanging, and they got a copy of my album from Moon, an advance copy, and they dug it. And they're like, you know, if you want to come out on tour with us, you let us know. I'm like, that sounds great. What are you doing? And they're like, we're doing this big tour. I'm like, okay. So the dates were already set up, and they were able to kind of like tell the promoters, we're bringing our friend. He's going to do 3 songs. He's going to do a 10-minute set. They were able to force that on everybody, all the promoters, because the shows were already set up.
Yeah.
But they're like, we're bringing our boy Chris out, and this is what's going to happen. He's going to play right before us, like the sweet spot, and it's going to be short. And it's going to be cool. But there was a little delay on the mastering end of the release, which delayed the actual release. So it wasn't until the last week or so of the tour that I had the actual album in hand.
Mm.
No one had heard it. And even it was a little not what people expected. First time they heard 4-track, lo-fi, ska reggae from me. Now, a lot of people like got it right away. And a lot of people like, what is that? Like, it truly confused a lot of people. In the same way as a guy getting on stage on his own with an acoustic guitar when like we're expecting Let's Go Bowling.
Yep.
And some people knew me from King Apparatus, other people didn't, but nobody was expecting that I was there performing at all because the posters were already put together. I wasn't advanced promoted. So it was like trial by fire every night, getting up on stage in front of crowds were big in '96. Let's Go Bowling was a popular band. The ska scene was popping. Everything was like full on. And I get up in front of, like, I remember playing the Metro in Chicago.
Yeah, the Metro, yeah.
That was sold out. I don't know what the capacity is, but it's like 800, 1,000,
yeah.
Big room. And I got up on stage. Chicago's closer to Toronto, more people knew me, but still, like, it was after playing 3 songs to a room of 1,000 people on my first tour that I really thought, this can work. Like, I was able to hit with a room big of ska people, and they felt it. So Savor Bread was really early in the mix for me. It was played at some of those shows. I remember Oh Carolina was another one that these were songs that were familiar to the audience, these covers. So that was like a good way. I usually would open up with Rocksteady, which had been out on Stubborn Records, Roots Branch and Stem compilation prior to the 4-track Adventures release. So some people had heard that song. And then I would have a cover, and then I'd finish up with, I don't know, but another, maybe Ex-Darling, probably, something like that. My 3 songs. But Savor Bread was right there early in the mix. And another one of those things, when I started singing it, it just fit on me really well. And Justin Hines is an artist that when I sing one of his songs, something just seems to be a natural connection. I really think his message, maybe he has a similar range to me or just some kind of similar melodic ideas, because I find his songs are really comfortable for me. Other artists have a different style, and I can learn their stuff, and by learning something that's not as natural, I grow more. But yeah,
or you make it, or you make it your own a little bit.
Yes, definitely. That has happened a lot, where now I've become a little more methodical because I'm used to virtually every week learning new material. Now that I probably have performed 300 distinct songs, I try to give myself a break and come up with themes where, of those 200-300 songs that I've done, I can go back and play number 123 a second time. You know, songs that I learned, if I do them a few more times, then I get to know them. I own them, and they're really ingrained. Rather, if I just do it once and never go back to it, someone wants it, I don't have it in my memory right now.
It's funny, like last night I was watching, I caught the last part of your show last night, and you said the next theme was going to be, you gave the theme a year.
Yes.
Right, 1972. Was it?
So yes. What happened is I started to say this and I didn't complete the thought. So on the Thursday we just had, that was the 72nd Blue Beat Lounge, Blue Beat live stream. So that's when I got on the tangent of the monthly ones, because in the year, the first year of it, there were 52 weeks, plus there were 12 monthly ones. So there were 64 within the first calendar year of it. And so it came to number 70, and I noticed, like, wow, every time like there's a milestone of something like that, like 75, that's going to be a major milestone. Like doing 75, that's a lot. But somehow it clicked for me when it came to 70. I'm like, I was trying to think what themes to do. I try not to recycle too much. I have done 2 times the two-tone night because people really wanted that again, and it's fun.
Yeah, there's no problem hearing you play songs again.
Right? So I had finished number 69. I had, usually on the monthly Monday ones for Europe and England, I don't have a theme. I let it be free, and whatever people want to hear, we're just doing that. So the 69th one was a Monday, but I had it in my mind, like, oh, if it hadn't been, I would have done a theme, Spirit of 69. But because it was the Monday, I'm like, I don't want to make Monday a formally regimented thing, because I like those being free, because a lot of times the people in those areas don't get as frequent opportunity to see the stuff. So if they want to hear something, I want to give that. So, but the next week came around, and I'm like, but that's a good idea. And like 1970, that was like right in the heart of the early reggae era. That's a golden era of music. And so what I have, over the last few weeks, it's evolved. So this 3 weeks ago was the 70th one. I did some songs from 1970. The next week, I did some songs from 71. Yesterday, I did some songs from 72. And now it arrived at this place yesterday. So rather than having one spotlight that's 12 songs or 10 songs long, yesterday I had kind of two. The yearly one there were 6 songs that were to do with 72,
Mm-hmm.
and then there were 6 songs that were to do with Bob Marley Wailers. And there was one that was like the pivotal point, that a Wailers tune from 72.
Okay.
I was already planning to do a Wailers tune because it's, that's the era that they were really blossoming.
Yep.
And I got up on Tuesday. I had the 72 poster already made up. I just hadn't promoted it yet. And then I saw, wow, this is the 40th anniversary of Bob Marley's passing today. So I'm like, well, of course, I'm going to make mention of that, do some Bob Marley songs on Thursday. So I had a shorter theme planned for 72 and a short theme of Bob Marley stuff. So there were 2 subtopics that seemed to play well together. And so next week I'll do some songs from 73, and I'll find a secondary or like a companion sub theme. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but
you got to break out the Venn diagram and see
right.
what lands in the middle.
So I mean, it could be like another artist-oriented thing, because as I said, there were a lot of songs that I learned for a specific day's theme that are great songs, and because I keep doing themes and having new material to put forward, plus I want to give time for if somebody wants to hear 4th of July or Ex Darling, of course,
right.
Of course. So songs that I've learned that I love, having this sub theme means, I'm not doing a full Maytals night, but maybe today I'm doing 5 songs from 73 and 5 songs from the Maytals. And I've just said it, so probably that's what it's going to be next week.
And that's how that happens. So,
and
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Another thing I've really loved about themes and also the chat, it really came to forward yesterday. So as I'm learning new songs, I'm going on YouTube usually, and Googling the song. If you Google a song, it's nice. They say, song by like Simon and Garfunkel. You click on that. Here's the lyrics. Here's the link to the song at YouTube. It's so easy. And because if I'm learning all these songs, that's what I need right away. The lyrics and the recording to like figure it out. Like how are the chords changing? And then I got to figure out what key is right for me to sing it in.
Right.
So I have a method that's efficient now.
Like a workflow for getting these songs down.
Yes. So there have been, I'm always learning in this process, learning the songs, and then often finding more information about the song. Or for instance, this song that I've known for decades, well, I didn't realize it was from 1971. Someone had asked me, I would have said, probably like early 70s. But now I'm learning, in 71, these songs came out. And listening to how even the sound of reggae is changing from 1969 through 70 to 71. 72, reggae sounds, some songs sound like they could have been 1970, but then there's some stuff that's happening in 72 that wasn't happening in 69 and 70. The new sound of reggae that by 76, no one is sounding like 1970 anymore. Reggae itself has changed. In the 60s, it would have been a new name for a new style of Jamaican music, but they stuck with the name reggae. But the sound of reggae from 1970 to 1980, massive shift.
Yep.
And what was I saying about it? There was someone requested once rum and Coca-Cola. You know this song?
I don't know that one.
So it's a calypso song, originally by an artist, Trinidadian Lord Invader. And I knew the song, it's kind of a standard calypso song, like famous like Deo and that kind of thing. So I knew the song, but I grew up knowing a Prince Buster ska version of the tune. And so somebody asked for rum and Coca-Cola, and it often happens, they'll ask for a tune, and I'm like, that's a great idea, but I need to prepare. So I'll have that for next week. And so someone asked for Rum and Coca-Cola. I'm like, that's cool. I always dug that tune, but I've never sung it. And I know probably like 3/4 of the lyrics. If I just attempted, I would get it. But if I worked it out, I'll hit it well. And that led me down an incredible rabbit hole into calypso, because I just knew the Prince Buster version and that it was a famous song. It's most famous because there's an Andrews Sisters version of it from like 1945.
Oh, wow.
So that was like an American production where they were singing a calypso song, and that was like a novelty thing, like a Nat Funicello doing Jamaica ska.
Right.
And so a lot of, I think, Western ears heard calypso for the first time through this Andrews Sisters version of this song. And it's got that old, like they've got the hairdo and like the World War II, and they're all in front of the mic with the big metal rim around it, stuff like super vintage vibes to their thing. And they sound awesome. But I couldn't have told you that it was a Lord Invader tune or what year it was written or anything like that. So I started finding out, because, for instance, Prince Buster has adjusted some lyrics. Now, it's not talking about Trinidad, it's talking about Jamaica. And I'm learning, okay, like, I knew Prince Buster's lyrics best, but it's actually, here are the original lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like, what are the original lyrics? That takes a little searching online, because there might be 3, 4, 5 versions of the song. So who wrote it? What was the first version? What are the lyrics? What were the evolution changes?
Right.
So this particular song, so the Andrews Sisters, their version came out, I think, 1943, which was the same year the Lord Invader version was a hit in Trinidad. You remember the old Dick Van Dyke Show?
Yep.
So he had 2 partners in the comedy writing office. Little guy, the actor was Maury Amsterdam. I can't remember the character's name, but there was a woman, and there was Rob Petrie was Dick Van Dyke's character, and then there was a shorter, older, balding, wisecracking comedy writer guy. That guy, in real life, his name was Maury Amsterdam. So he was a celebrity actor, comedian guy.
Okay.
Back in the World War II era. So he was in Trinidad in one of those USO entertaining the troops kind of facilities. He heard Rum and Coca-Cola while he was there entertaining troops. And actually the song is directly about when the Yankees first came to Trinidad. And it's the soldiers that came. And the song is kind of like the Trinidadian girls are hooking up with the American soldiers, and the Trinidadian guys are not happy about this. This is like the subject of the song, Lord Invader's song.
Yeah.
So Maury Amsterdam heard the song. It was a hit in Trinidad when he was there. And this is like 1940s. So a long time. We hear like nobody knew about publishing law in the 60s from Jamaica. In the 40s, nobody knew these things.
Everything was fair game.
He came back and basically registered the song under his own name with a couple of co-writing partners, with no mention of Lord Invader. And the way things went back then, you know, songwriters were affiliated with publishers who would place songs through record companies who would hire or sign artists, usually like, oh, this artist looks good, has a nice voice. And then we pair that artist with material that a couple of people at a piano in an office building, in the Brill building, came up with this song. They're the songwriters. It wasn't like everybody's an artist writing their own material. It was like, we get the singer, same with Elvis, you know? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. We got the guy who looks good and sounds good, and we put him with the material that's killer, and we put all that together in the studio with the producer who knows how to make the recording sound radio friendly and all of that stuff. It was a much more regimented industry at the time. So through a publisher, the song got to the Andrews Sisters, and the way they recall it, it's a little, it was considered risque at the time because it's talking about like the soldiers and the girls carrying on, and plus it's making reference to alcohol. Like this is that far back in the time that it was like, wow, that's a little touchy. But so they recall it, where people have asked them later, like, so the song is kind of stolen, and they're like, we were just like the singers, and we were in this recording session, and we did the other stuff that was ready quicker than expected, and there was a little time left, and they're like, okay, we have this other song, like, and they put it in front of us, and we sing that song, and we walked out the door, and that we didn't think about it, and then the machinery of record companies made it a hit, and we're like, wow, that song we did at the end of the session. It's not like they went out and they picked the song. Somebody like, you're here in front of the mic, sing this, and then they're like, okay. So that's how it came to them. And there's a group from Barbados called the Merrymen, who are like, Calypso is traditionally from Trinidad. It's spread throughout the islands and sprung up in different islands with it. They're like, I would say the correct way to look at it in Jamaica, mento, the indigenous style, very similar to Calypso in the groove, in the type of delivery vocally. I've come to understand this more recently, that in some way of looking at it, the scholarly way of looking at it, mento is a form of Calypso. Calypso originated in Trinidad, spread through the islands. In each circumstance of this island and that, it took on a different flavor. So over in Barbados, it became more like soca and steel pan, but it's still Calypso. In Jamaica, it's mento, but it's still Calypso. Wow. In the same way, reggae has all these different, this is dancehall, or this is roots reggae, or this is rock. There's all these different types of reggae. So I got really fascinated by learning about this song because Prince Buster's version had some lyrics that were amended to be about Jamaica. And then it had these other lyrics that they really felt like they were part of the original song, yet I wasn't hearing them in the Lord Invader and the Andrews Sisters versions. But I had heard, like, I always, from the first time I ever heard the song, maybe, this is part of the song, but it's not in the original. Where is this coming from? And so it started me in a couple of prongs of checking out this song. So I'll jump back to Lord Invader, Trinidadian Calypsonian, who made the song first. So he created words to a composition, new words to a composition that was written in like the aughts, 1908 or something like that, by a Venezuelan composer who had moved to Trinidad. And Calypso, I've learned a bunch about it, actually had some success in Venezuela, separate from the Caribbean at the time. So Lord Invader's version was, again, a modification of a previous incarnation of the song.
Oh my word.
First version wasn't, no lyrics about rum and Coca-Cola or the Yankees in Trinidad. The song itself is in French, the original composition. And the melody, he definitely borrows melodic ideas. The way the chords move is clearly from that song. Now that 1908 composition, the guy, I forget his name in this moment, but he was well known in that early 20th century for traveling around the Caribbean. And I guess stealing is one way of doing it, but in this day, I don't think it was considered that because there wasn't much of a recording industry, but he would go around the Caribbean, a musical guy, and he would hear a song, and then he would bring it back to Trinidad and do something with it And so, I mean, songs are always moving around and taking new life in new places with new artists. Lyrics are changing. So the 1908 composer's version was based on a folk song from Barbados that was from the 1880s. That was as far back as I could find anything. And I found on YouTube there was some Barbadian choral group who did a version of the 1880s era folk song that inspired the Venezuelan composer in Trinidad in the aughts, the beginning of the 20th century, write his French language song that then in the early 40s, Lord Invader rewrote lyrics to, made a new story to the music. And then that got usurped and brought up to America, where the Andrews Sisters sang their hit song, and that was a big hit. And that there were actually some lawsuits about it, because I think it was like a #1 hit for a dozen weeks.
Oh.
Made some money. And in a good end to it, Lord Invader had rights to the words. And if the original Venezuelan guy, whose name I'm spacing on right now, each of them had separate lawsuits about the copyright infringement of the Andrews Sisters version, and they were both successful. They both got a serious chunk of money for the time.
Wow.
Because the song was very successful. And so still, I took it back to as far back to ground zero as I could on the song. And by this point, I'm researching, I'm intrigued, I'm fascinated by what I'm learning. But still I haven't found out there's a lyric in the Prince Buster version that goes, "Money in the land is the Yankee dollar bill." And to me, that was like part of rum and Coca-Cola, but it's not in any of these early things. And where is that coming from? And that
is it possible it was his addition?
So it's possible, but I know that Prince Buster, here he was covering rum and Coca-Cola, period, the cover. And he does a lot of covers. He writes some stuff, but stuff that he writes is often more like Judge Dredd talking.
Yeah, chatting over a rhythm.
And this was much more song-like than a lot of the stuff that his original material. And I'm like, it could be. And I went as far as like, I messaged Carlos Malcolm, who lives in Florida, who I met. Carlos Malcolm was a band leader in the early Jamaican days. You know that track, Bonanza Ska?
Oh, yeah.
That's the Carlos Malcolm Afro-Carib Orchestra.
Wow.
So I'm like, he didn't actually get back to me, but I reached out to a few people like, where is this lyric from? People that I thought would have possibly some clue. No one could tell me. Then I stumbled across this version by the Merrymen, who were a calypso group from Barbados. And how that started was the lead singer of that group went up to Montreal, Canada, to study. While he was there doing college for like graphic design or design some type, he formed a group, or he joined a group that two Trinidadian guys in Montreal, they were playing calypso together in Canada. So the Barbadian guy was playing calypso with Trinidadians in Canada. Then he finished school, went back to Barbados, formed this group, the Merrymen, who became very successful, like international style, in the way that Byron Lee was not the downtown kind of Jamaican representation of music. A little clean cut version, sanitized, easy to digest for Western ears. The Merrymen were like that for calypso. It wasn't like let's grind and we can't understand because the accent's so thick. It was like really accessible for Western ears, but authentic calypso. So I found a Merrymen version of Big Bamboo. Not the same song at all. There's two versions of Big Bamboo. I won't even go off in that tangent. But I found the lyric that was in Prince Buster's version of Rum and Coca-Cola was also in the Merrymen's version of Big Bamboo, although not in the original version of Big Bamboo. Complicated.
Yeah.
So
people are digging this, by the way. I have the advantage of seeing the comments. So
okay.
And
they're saying like, get him stopping talking about this.
No, it's a deep dive all the way to 1908 Venezuela. And Edmond Vickers is saying that is amazing. I love learning history like this.
Right. So all of this is saying like the process of getting material preparing for the upcoming stream has led me to like a lot of research, a lot of learning about, I already knew a fair bit about Jamaican music, but in this last year, I have learned a lot. I've really like applied myself to acquiring knowledge because it was fascinating to me. It's like not like, oh, I have to learn this stuff. It's like, wow, this is great. I never knew any of this stuff. And now YouTube and the internet overall, such a fantastic resource. Like I can talk to my phone, okay, like Ken Booth, everything I own. There it is right there, like that.
Yeah.
Used to be like, oh, if you wanted to learn a song like that, does someone have the record? Like I want to hear the recording. It was hard.
And I mean, I did not do the research you have done, but there was the song that I think about that happened to me on was Rudy's All Around.
Right.
So Hepcat, of course, I know that one. And then I hear the reggae version of it because I didn't realize
Joe White? Is that? Oh, no, that's later.
Yeah. And then I found out there was a calypso version of it originally.
There's a connection with Rudy's All Around, the Hepcat version. So in that Merryman version of Big Bamboo, the little part that goes, yeah, 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 yeah. Working for the Yankee dollar. That working for the Yankee dollar is part of Rum and Coca-Cola. But in the very trail fade of Hepcat's Rudy's All Around, they're quoting various calypso songs. One little line from here and there. And they do that. La, 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 la. Looking for the Yankee dollar. And that la, 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 la part is in Merriman's Big Bamboo, but not in any Rum and Coca-Cola. And I'm like, wow, like this is just so deep how music is spreading around and one composition influences like a later incarnation or a different composition. And I think that's, I sometimes when it comes to like, oh, there were lawsuits,
yeah,
it was like, oh, somebody stole a song. But I think truthfully, that is really how music, before there were copyrights, it was just there to appreciate and to perform and to share. So it was never considered theft. Like if somebody went somewhere and learned a song and then went somewhere else and taught it to somewhere else, and then that person taught it to someone, that's just how things went. And for instance, like in the folk music tradition, like say in the American folk music revival that was like late 50s, early 60s, where Bob Dylan and stuff, those people were very consciously, before it blew up, they were very conscious to be of a tradition where like part of your weight as an artist was you knew songs. You might know 500 songs. And, oh, this ballad, this English ballad from 1786. It's folk music, and then it gets handed down through here and here and here. And now, Bob Dylan is doing all these in the early 60s, for instance, like songs that are based on Woody Guthrie material. And Woody Guthrie some of it's original, but also he learned songs from people generations before him. And these songs get passed along generation to, so that is part of like the folk music tradition. And I mean, in Jamaican music, that is so prevalent. It's the thought of theft is almost comical in that the versioning practice where
Right.
somebody would have a hit today with a new song or a new rhythm. Tomorrow, okay, Coxon did this. Tomorrow, Duke Reed's in the studio, doing the same rhythm with different singers with different words. And next day, 2 other producers are doing it. So it's like, oh, like there's a cool thing. We're using that too, was practice, Jamaica. And in the world before, the modern times of the recording industry is like making a ton of money and
oh yeah,
there's money.
Yeah, the American music industry, you can't get away with any of that. Like,
Right.
I'm thinking like stuff like Pharrell, that song "Happy."
Right. Which was interesting because the infringement or the too close for comfort aspect wasn't about the melody or the lyrics. It was about the sound of the track. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Or the chord progression or something.
His track sounded like a Marvin Gaye track, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they settled. They ended up settling.
It wasn't like the song sounded like Marvin Gaye's song. The track, as soon as you heard it, you're like, oh yeah, this is like that Marvin Gaye thing. It
Yeah.
was such a trademark sound. Interesting.
So, well, that was a deep dive. And that's probably a really, I mean, to be able to have the extra time like you've had and to just like dig deep into the history of some of these, like we take for granted a lot of the songs, especially the, Jamaican ska songs, reggae songs. We take for granted that these are the songs, and sometimes we don't realize that they might have had a life before the songs we knew.
Absolutely. I remember hearing the first time I heard Jamaican ska really was in the two-tone era. I knew reggae as a separate thing from two-tone. I was digging reggae, I was digging blues. Generally, I've always been into like roots music that appeals to me. And at the time of two-tone, and it was Mango, which was a sub-label of Island. Island Records, Chris Blackwell, started to initially release Jamaican music in England. And then it expanded its scope to where like Steve Winwood and Traffic was signed to Island. I think they signed U2, right? They were like, Island Records itself became this huge thing. Mango became a sub-label that stayed specific to Jamaican stuff. So Mango did a series called Intensified, which there were 3 or 4 episodes of compilations of classic tracks. And the first one, that was the first time I would have heard Scatolites they did the James Bond theme, I remember was on that. Maytals, John and James was on that. Stranger Cole, We Are Rolling. Like a bunch of these there was an Eric Morris tune on there. That was my first exposure to Jamaican music. And that would have been roughly like 80, 81 or something like that. And at pre-internet time, couldn't do any research.
Right.
There was very little documentation there was no comprehensive guidebook of here's all the Jamaican music that was released. No, there was stuff that released, they made like 100 copies of it and 30 were destroyed in a flood and somebody's got one in the basement and you only find it. Now it's like some super collectors put their collections on YouTube and it's just like the video is drop the needle, record plays. And we have access to this music that otherwise is impossible to access.
Yeah, I subscribe to a couple of those YouTube channels because
it's amazing.
You got everything.
These days, we have the opportunity to research and learn stuff that the information and the music was just unavailable until the internet really got kicking, you know. But now it's right there. And so, as a lifelong fan of this music, it wasn't that I was lazy about researching before. There was no method. And now I have this time this year and the technique and the method and a reason for it as well. Like, I want to share these rabbit hole moments. And so at the end, this all started with, at the end of the performance part of Blue Beat live stream, usually for about half an hour, I'll put down the guitar and just chat. And it can be about whatever. Oh, maybe something happened this week. But now more and more, that this becomes a regular part of the thing. As I'm working on my material for the week, I start to get interested in stuff. I'm like, I want to talk about this at the end because this is fascinating stuff. So all in all, I'm really thankful for the streaming, the Blue Beat live stream thing over this year. It's been like for the people that come, for me also, having a weekly structure of any type has been really good. Having a bit of a community that you can commune with on a regular basis has been good. As an artist, having a reason to keep busy and working on material and not, getting rusty or anything like that. I'm singing more than I do typical times.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I was thinking. You've been busier in this last year and months.
So I'm not one day of this time been bored.
Yeah.
I've always had good stuff to do that I love doing. It's good for me and expanding, like whether it's exercise, expanding physical health, or practicing my craft, researching, becoming more knowledgeable about the realm of music overall. It's been great.
Awesome. Well, post Blue Beat live stream or pandemic and stuff, you have some stuff on the horizon that has started to happen, right? In terms of live perform. You told us about Romano's.
Yes.
And
so
then
right now, what now I have actually confirmed is dates at Romano's through the summer and Supernova.
Supernova.
Yes. Right. And so I'm really stoked. I guess it was originally for summer 2020, then they moved it up to summer 2021, now to September 2021. Now, like, it wasn't until I actually did a gig here that I felt like, okay, gigs are back. I didn't want to start promoting Supernova thinking, well, who knows what's going to be the case in September. But seeing how just over the course of a few months of vaccination, it's been a real positive change in the reality.
Yeah.
And gigs are happening. I actually had one, so it felt real. Like, okay, I want to start promoting Supernova because a lot of people at Blue Beat have been, some have been there, others haven't. And so there's been a lot of chatter among people while I'm singing songs. Sometimes I'm singing a song and people in comments are having conversations together, which is fine. That's what happens at a show. It's not like everybody's silently paying attention.
Right.
They're chatting. And so people are like, so what, should we go to Supernova? And other people are like, you got a comment, it's great. And when I see that, I'm like, yes, that you should go. And now
understandably, there's a little trepidation because you don't know if it's going to get postponed again. But honestly, honestly speaking, it feels like the momentum is there. It feels like,
and it feels like it's going to be safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's an endeavor for a person to fly somewhere and get a hotel to be at a festival for 3 or 4 days. It takes a lot of time and energy and resources as well. Yeah. And I know lots of artists, lots of people generally had different experiences where they had trips planned that had to be canceled. And then airlines you get a voucher or you get a refund or you don't, and this and that. It's like, it's hard to encourage people to like buy a ticket and book a hotel when you're not even 100% sure this stuff's going to happen, because it got moved twice already.
Yeah.
You know, but it feels like, yeah, September. I'm pretty confident that by September things are going to be back in full force.
I've already bought my plane ticket.
I haven't yet.
I got my plane ticket. I got my hotel reservation.
Ah, great. And it's an awesome experience. So, just having one show where I was in an outdoor situation, but with people, friends that I've known for years. People from Debonair's came out. I've known those people 20 plus years.
Almost done.
It's so cool to have that experience of communing with people in person again. I know that Supernova for the ska scene is going to be a really big event, because even in the years that it happened, a lot of people have traveled. It's a destination event. And, it's typically like we're used to seeing all those people every year.
Yep.
And we've all not only not seen each other for 1 year of Supernova, we've all been cooped up, not going anywhere, not having shows. So I think that is going to be a real magical time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're going to get a year and a half worth of shows in one weekend, right. And everybody you've been wanting to see, you're going to see.
Everybody's going to be feeling so great.
So really looking forward to that. Are you working on anything new? I always have to ask, is there anything on the, like, recording wise in the back pocket?
So, I'll hit a couple aspects of that. So during the pandemic, I wrote one song. I was doing a lot of things. Like, my days are very full of activity, and I could have written. They say, like, write what you know. I kind of felt like in the moment, I didn't want to write about, lockdown. I wasn't, and the times were so, and still are, tumultuous.
Yeah.
On various levels. Like, we had, of course, COVID. We had elections. Super crazy time there. Everything that happened with Black Lives Matter was huge in the, psychic space of America. And specifically in California, there were times we had crazy fires where air quality visibility was like, usually you see that hill, you just don't see it. And so it was a very off-putting, unsettling time in a lot of ways. And I didn't really want to write all these bummer songs. And none of those things is super simple either. It was a time where in America, especially, that was my experience. I was here. People were very divided and very combative in that division. There was not a lot of healthy, productive dialogue. There was a lot of badgering.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, I don't want to say I didn't want to participate in that entirely, because as a person experiencing all of those things, I have my opinions and stuff. And maybe during that time, I would be more vocal about opinions on something like Twitter than Facebook. More of a setting that's people are not put off by being direct. But when it came to songs, in the end, I wrote one song and it covered all of that for me. And I wrote it on June 30th, 2020, and it's called The Last Day of the First Half of 2020. And that song touches on all of those things that I was talking about. The election, craziness, fires, Black Lives Matter, COVID, the reality of lockdown and how we're all feeling. I got all of that stuff into one song that I love. And it's truly true to how I was feeling on that day. it wasn't coming up with the answer for all the problems. It was like, this day,
Just
this is
getting it
where
out.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is everything that's on my mind. And it's like that it's what's on my mind. It's not like I'm not telling you what to think, but I'm just relating my own personal feeling today. And I felt comfortable doing that because it's been hard. I mean, as a person and as an artist, I really feel a lot of importance in music is a factor that a thing that unites us. We all can connect through music, even if we disagree about other things. And I really want, as a person and as an energy, to help us as people come together. That is really something that I feel strongly about. And I think that I think it's oversimplifying to say that's what reggae is about. Reggae is about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But there is a theme that runs through a lot of reggae that is about the oneness and recognizing that, like that whole mentality of Babylon, which is some type of elite energy at the expense of all of us, the
Right.
masses, and acknowledging we are the masses, we are the people together on this planet, in this environment, this reality now. I think those things get touched on a lot in reggae in a way that a lot of people love reggae for. It's part of their power of that music that can talk about that type of depth of subject in a way that's, I think, very humanist. You know, it's about, it respects humanity, respects people. Even the lowest people have value is a real strong message. So all of that is, I found it hard to come up with songs of that type of message in this time that was so crazy. And I didn't want to write songs that were just like from the perspective of someone who's like also struggling to deal with all these things as every person is. And some of that stuff's upsetting. It's easy to say like, that's crap. Like your opinion is stupid. You know, a lot of people with stupid, crappy opinions. It became, I don't even want to say who they are, but half of America thinks it's the other half, and that other half thinks it's that half.
Yeah,
it's just so even down the middle. It's like, I didn't want to dive in there and pull it apart even more. And I think that now we were a long way from everything came like this, going to come back. How fast it comes back going to impact how big a clap it is, how that event happens, and then again, how far it goes out. I think there's going to we don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
But our community on Earth, in this country, is going to be changing a lot in that we have now post-pandemic reality coming to us. We have a new administration in Washington with new policies. We have the history of everything that happened in the last 5 years that is major. Coupled with, I think during this time, it's a well-known fact, the keyboard warrior.
Yeah, you know? That's, oh my gosh, don't even get me started with that.
Like you're tapping away on your device, and it used to be like if you said something was out of line, someone punched you in the face, and that's how you learned
not to do that,
not to step out of line. But in the privacy of your space, behind the protection of the internet, people say all kinds of stuff. Really, like a lot of stuff has been said, and a lot of stuff that that was maybe below the surface of what we were always seeing has risen to really the forefront of being right in our face.
Yeah.
And a lot of that happened over COVID time.
Yep.
Like it came to the head during COVID time, absolutely. And now we're just at that very moment of stepping out into public space with other people again. Like a lot went down, and in a lot of ways, there's families torn apart by political division.
Yep.
On various levels about various issues, and as people, we have to figure out how to deal, how to process. It's hard to know how to, just on a non-musical level, if another person has a viewpoint that is so extremely different from your own and represents a set of values that is contrary to your own, and that is a reciprocal relationship. Your own outlook is deemed problematic by the other person. And it's come to a point of combativeness in culture between those sets of ideas and values. Where is the middle ground? I wish I knew. Or is seeking a middle ground even acceptable? Like if it's accepting, if it's tolerating values you find intolerant, to find an area of consensus, is that morally good or bad?
And either side is going to feel that exact same way.
Right. And just the tone of the times, it's extreme versus extreme. There's very little in the middle. And it's almost like, I can understand it too. Like if I say I'm way over here and the other viewpoint is way over there, that's a long way away. I don't want to go halfway towards that, because I think that's the wrong way.
Yeah.
In the same way that person looks at where I am, like, that's not for me. It's hard to know, because the screen has been pulled away. We've seen behind the facade of politeness that maybe one day existed. But there used to be things like when I was a kid that it was classic. You don't talk about politics and religion at the dinner table, right? That was like standard
protocol.
The right word. Like politeness. I can't remember the word for it, but
decorum,
etiquette. It was an etiquette.
Oh, etiquette.
Rule number one. Like you just don't go to those areas that are going to promote conflict in discussion at the dinner table, because dinner is about people getting together and communing.
Yep.
But there's none of that. There's no space that's free of problematic, conflict-inducing themes and issues.
Right. And neither side is willing to set aside,
Exactly. Everyone's dug in.
Yeah.
And I mean, at one level, the most important one is climate change, because if we don't deal with that, none of the rest of it is going to exist, right?
Right.
And here in California, we see every year as the fires are getting worse. Other places, the winter gets crazy, or hurricanes and tornadoes, all of it. Like well, for some people, they're still having trouble accepting that reality, but it's really like staring us in the face. And we have had distraction, like over this last year. It's been hard to motivate and to bring people together, even like to meet in public was a problematic thing. So to have rallies and this and that, it was always kind of like, I never participated physically in any rallies or demonstrations during COVID. I was prioritizing stay at home thing for all the right reasons for me. Like
right.
I didn't want to get sick, and if I got sick, I didn't want to spread it to other people, all of that. Yet I was really thankful that people were out there making their opinions known, standing up in certain ways about certain issues, even though it was problematic as far as health issues.
Yeah,
possibly.
It was no easy easy way
No.
to do things. Because
But
so
now
many
that-
issues, so many things just happened all at the same time.
So this summer is upon us soon, the time when it'll be easy everywhere in the country for people to gather outdoors in public spaces and have reckonings, whether it's a music festival or a demonstration or whatever it is, like a sporting event. We can get together in large groups, and we have major issues to deal with.
Yeah.
And there have been people who are motivated to be activists about some of these things far more than I am, who I'm sure will kick it into high gear, especially with climate change, because now is the time to act.
Yeah. Well,
A lot of it's a heavy year.
It's a heavy year. It's a heavy year, but you have been providing in this heavy year. You have been providing for all of us on a weekly basis, giving of your time and your art and your energy towards a little bit of respite from 90 minutes. We get to like put that stuff aside and just enjoy your music, and for that we thank you very much.
My pleasure. And I definitely understood early on that Blue Beat live stream was not the place to get too preachy. Like it was there. I know are people that come regularly who have widely different outlooks about things, and yet they come, and there's a moment where they can be a community together, despite certain differences, and have it be civil and warm and a positive vibe of people coming together. And I really want to protect that. It was an escape from that for
Yes.
people. I clued into that pretty soon, and then I let it be an escape from that for myself as well, and shared that benefit from. It helped me know what to bring, and I understood that a lot of people were, how to say, it was an off-putting time. And a lot of people were going through real tragedy as well.
Oh,
So to be conscious as a performer, that what I wanted to do more than anything was help people feel good over this time. Didn't matter what song I sang or how well I sang it really or this or that, but the energy of bringing some kind of comfort in the moment was something that I became conscious of, that through feedback people were giving me. I would get a message from someone like, every Thursday, you are like my escape, and I really appreciate that because life is so crazy, and there's this moment of peace in me. I'm like, wow, this is what people are appreciating most about this. That is what I want to focus on.
I know from my part, I know there was a couple weeks where it was like, man, I really needed this today.
Yeah.
And it's been obviously the same for a lot of people. And so as long as you're able to keep doing it, we know that it can't go on forever, but we appreciate, the fact
Well,
that
I'm enjoying it.
that you've done it.
Of course, people have started to ask me, like, so are you going to stop? I'll say, first of all, in Canada, they're still in lockdown. So this is not over. And my community at Blue Beat live stream is not through this yet.
Right. I mean, realistically, we're not through this.
No, we're not.
We're not.
As well, there are people who are regular at Blue Beat who live in places that the town is small or it's off in some corner of the world that I don't go to, that now I have a rapport with. These people come week after week for a year. And it's like, I know that as an artist and a fan or whatever, we have a relationship, and I don't want to walk away from that myself.
Right.
I think it's been really special that people from all over the world could come together, and I could relate with people all over the world simultaneously and especially with places like I know I'm never going to go there. 30 years of touring, I've never made it there. Chances are I won't now. So here is this opportunity. See people who have seen me perform live in person many times. It might be okay. The live stream is a limited version of that. However, for someone who lives somewhere where I've never been, who will never see me perform live in person, what they get through the live stream is a hugely expanded degree of connectivity and experience. So
honestly, I don't see this changing. I like, much like secular work of like companies that are dealing with the repercussions, and a lot of businesses are looking at doing hybrid, at least for the foreseeable future. I could totally see musicians on some level continuing to live stream in addition to the live, and both will coexist in some form or fashion.
Like last week, I had Blue Beat on Thursday and I had Romanos on Saturday. And this week I don't have Romanos, but next week I have both. So that hybrid reality is already in effect for me. And because of the nature of my format of live streaming, it's just me singing into my phone. Even if I'm on tour, there will be some times it might be difficult. If I'm someplace and it's like 3 a.m. and I've just done a show and I'm staying at someone's house, I can't feel like belting out tunes for an hour and a half at 3 a.m. in someone's house.
But you know what you might be able to do? You might be able to turn the phone on during the show.
True. Or if I have...
Every once in a while.
There's definitely possibilities for flexibility. Because just in the same way as being a solo acoustic artist has been a flexible format for me and allowed me to adapt and to go many places that the cost of bringing even a small band is prohibitive.
Yeah.
The same thing, like just me and a guitar, now me and a guitar and a phone, and I can be broadcasting to the world in real time. And so I could be in Canada or England or Mexico or something and find a time. I think the only thing that may be most difficult about it is keeping a set schedule. But going live is super easy.
Yeah.
And letting people know what you're going to do in advance is super easy too. So
I know you're fortunate because of the way you do it, because of how you play music. There's next to no setup required, and it sounds great. Like your like audibly and visibly, it works. A live band could not put a phone up in a practice room without blowing the microphones out. You know what I'm saying? So it all just works in your favor for what you do.
And of course, doing a solo act period has afforded me the possibility to do these streams. You know, like I'm ready to go in this time when we can't get together physically. Even if there was a band there, we couldn't have been in the same room.
Right.
But I can do the performance on my own. And it's funny how things, like 25 years ago when I started doing solo performance, I never could have imagined a time when, like, because I do a solo performance in pandemic times, I can do a weekly live stream. You never see what's ahead, right?
Yeah.
But being adaptable and flexible is always beneficial. You figure it out.
Well,
and that's what we'll do. Well, all of us do moving forward.
That's what we all need to do. Is just figure it out. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the deep dive, and most of all, thank you for the music that you continue to give us and helping us. So, with that, we are gonna call it a night. We want to thank all of you for tuning in, leaving comments. We had some comments in here on YouTube and Facebook. So we had some people watching on both platforms. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Let's see. Next week, we have the week off next week. I'm so bad about this. This is like every week with me, I forget who my next guest is because I never write it down.
Oh no.
And so I'll post it out there for everybody, but I know it's somebody good. Just for some reason at the moment,
sure
it's just for some reason it's just slipping my mind. But thank you guys all for joining us. Thank you, Chris, for
My pleasure.
hanging out with me, and we'll catch you
Thank you,
guys next week. Bye bye.